what's going on? This your boy Town. So, I got like about 10 minutes to spare. So, I thought I'd get a quick stream in. So, to basically give you guys a rundown and everything that's going on. So, first thing first. So it's it's just not looking too good for Keith Thurman. Right about now, he probably wish his name was Keith Sweat because at least Keith Sweat still has a career. Keith Sweat is still currently going on tour and making music, but not Keith Thurman. At the end of the day, Keith Thurman suffered a injury, and basically he was forced to bow out of the fight with Tim Zoo. Now, on a side note, and I'm not trying to insinuate nothing, but on a side note, I had heard that the ticket sales for this fight was very, very poor. There were reports saying that they only had sold like a little bit over 1,000 tickets. So the fight was selling very poorly. On top of the fact that Keith Thurman suffered an injury and he was forced to, bow out of the fight. So now the next question remains for Keith Thurman. Should Keith Thurman call it a career? My thing is, my opinion is, I think that Keith Thurman should seriously, and I mean seriously, talk this over with his family, and I think he should seriously consider retirement because at Keith Thurman's age of 35, and due to the fact that he's had a bunch of nagging injuries that he can't seem to shake, it just appears that he just won't be able to fully commit himself into getting prepared for a fight. He's only had 6 fights in like 6 years. A lot of inactivity. Now we can point the finger at the PBC. We can point the finger at him. We can point the finger in a lot of different directions, especially when you have multiple hands to point the finger at whose fault it is that Keith Thurman is where he is now as a fighter. So that's unfortunate for him, but I do think Keith Thurman should consider calling it a career. I hope Keith Thurman has took care of his money. I hope Keith Thurman invested his money properly to where he doesn't have to resort to seeking a 9 to 5. So I hope Keith Thurman and his family is taken care of. I hope Keith Thurman has a way to take care of his family. He has 2 young children. So with that being said, I wish nothing but the best for Keith Thurman. Um, but at the end of the day, he needs to consider retirement. And you have to be honest with you. You have to be honest with yourself. You have to be honest with you. If you keep Thurman like, man, I'm trying to make this happen, but stuff keeps happening. So now I have to figure out what's next for me. What do I do post boxing? A lot of times, this is why you hear about these athletes, going broke and stuff because they don't have a plan post whatever sport they're participating in. Patrick Ewing said it best. We make a lot of money, but we spend a lot of money, especially if you a guy that didn't come for money. So you get millions of dollars. And the thing is, when you spending millions of dollars, you not taking care of your money or keeping track of your money, you may think you have more than what you actually have. Then you turn around and you check your bank accounts, you be like, damn, I thought I had more than this. And then you calling your banks and all this stuff, like, hey, I feel like it's some discrepancies with my account. I should have this amount of money versus that amount of money. And then by the time you talk to the agent and they start running down where your money went, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, so this is what happened. So there you have it. So, like I said, I wish the best for Keith Thurman. Now, getting to Ryan Garcia, I'm gonna just have to say this. At the end of the day, whether people think he's faking this or whatever the case may be, or whether he's mentally stable to for taking a fight, Ryan Garcia is doing everything in his power to sabotage this fight. You heard 7-8 Sports talking about it. Um, I told 7-8 when I talked to him over the phone, and I told my correspondent Kobe Miggs, because me and him are still going over like whether we both gonna cover this fight or he gonna cover the fight, because I have to admit I have reservations about coming out there to cover that fight. I don't want to have to spend a whole bunch of money to come out there to cover this fight, and then this happens, that happens, and then, you know, I'm going there expecting to cover, Ryan Garcia versus Devin Haney, and then I end up covering somebody else. But legally wise, Devin Haney them, and people get mad when you bring this type of stuff up. They could take legal action versus Ryan Garcia. They could hold him accountable for lost revenue, lost pay-per-view sales, because of the fact that Ryan Garcia is saying these things, and he's deterring people from having any interest in coming to see this fight and buying tickets. Ticket sales have slowed down some. I think if Ryan Garcia would just be training, getting prepared, and talking about how anxious he is to get in the ring with Devin Haney versus talking all this stuff about Elon Musk, and he knows what happened with Tupac and all this other crazy stuff, I think the fight would be close to being sold out, but a lot of people are scared to buy tickets because they're wondering what will happen. It's to the point to where people don't trust Ryan Garcia, and Ryan Garcia has nobody to blame but himself. And then to a certain degree, you have to look at Golden Boy, because Golden Boy should be like, hey, Ryan, you need to stay the hell off the internet. After Ryan Garcia kept saying that he was going to stay off the internet, you could get a cease and desist order where Ryan Garcia could has to stay off the internet, and he can't talk about anything other than trying to promote the fight. They really can do that. But this is why people believe that Ryan Garcia is just trying to sabotage this fight, because he doesn't believe he can win this fight. And then also, it may be people behind the scenes in his ear telling him to sabotage this fight. So there you have it. So let me get to the last subject, and then I got to start my shit. At the end of the day, the people that's continuing to, protect Canelo and don't want to state the obvious, that Canelo is clearly, obviously ducking David Benavidez, and then he's doing David Benavidez dirty. At the end of the day, they don't even want to pay David Benavidez right, pertaining to this fight. Keep in mind, Caleb Plant got paid, $10 million. He was guaranteed $10 million. They only guaranteeing David Benavidez $5 million. That's Canelo's team. Now, I could go another totally different direction with this, but I'm not. But due to the fact that David Benavidez is getting offered $5 million less than what, Caleb Plant got, that doesn't sit right with me on a bunch of different levels. Because Canelo was guaranteed $60 million plus the gate, and then plus the pay-per-view. So Canelo, if this fight was to do well, sell like 2 million pay-per-views, Canelo could possibly walk away with like $80 million. David Benavidez said he would take the $5 million flat fee, which I think ain't a good deal, because he could make at least anywhere between 10 to 12 if this fight is successful, but he just wants the opportunity. It's a big fight. It would sell. And there's no reason why they can't pay David Benavidez, the same amount that they gave Caleb Plant. Other than Canelo, he just doesn't want the fight, and it's just time to come to grips with that. Canelo fans are going to have to accept the fact that he's avoiding this fight. And most of them are starting to accept the fact that he's avoiding this fight. All this stuff about he'll fight everybody, and he's not ducking nobody. Okay, well, here's the thing. He wouldn't even be fighting Jaime Munguia if it wasn't for Edgar Berlanga. He was going to fight Edgar Berlanga, a guy that he knows isn't ready for him. But at the end of the day, I think Jaime Munguia is a serviceable fight. But in all likelihood, Canelo will still be an overwhelming favorite to win this fight. David Benavidez, possibly, if he was to fight Canelo, he would be a favorite. But I'm going to talk about something that Oscar said later on. But nevertheless, it ain't looking too good for Canelo. He's just looking like he's flat out ducking. So let me start my shit. Appreciate you guys. I'm out.